Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are joined by Mark Daggett. He's the founder and executive director of Rally for Riley and Friends. How you doing there, Mark?
I'm doing great, Drew. How are you?
Good. I'm so pleased to have you in our studio, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary. They got a whole bunch of cool things going on at Liberty Station, and she's been just a wonderful addition to our Spotlight show. How you doing, Kristen?
Doing pretty well.
Another great interview, and we love to have first-timers, and this first time Mark's been on our show.
Absolutely, yeah. I learned so much about all the great organizations we have here in San Diego.
A ton. I know you got a question for Mark out of the gate.
Yeah, I think just out the gate, as you said, can you tell us a little bit about the mission of the organization?
Sure. Our mission is to advocate and support the spinal cord injury community in San Diego County.
Okay. And what's your personal connection with that, or how did you find your way into this work?
Well, the day before Mother's Day, 2017, my coworker's toddler had a tragic accident.
Wow.
And he is paralyzed from below the shoulders and on a ventilator.
Oh, my goodness.
He'll be 9 in July.
Wow.
And so with that, almost instantly, we need to do something for that population, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was compelled to do something. I didn't know what. Mm-hmm. And one of the superintendents at work said, why don't you put a fundraising golf tournament together? I said, great idea. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to golf. I don't golf. So we put together a charity tournament in 12 weeks and raised $155,000.
Wow.
Nice. Now, with spinal cord injuries, certainly, is there a lot of research behind them, or is part of the money you raised to go to research?
Currently, we're not funding research. We're funding actual individuals and families.
Right, that are going through surgeries or going through rehab or both?
Rehab. We will get the what we call spinal cord injury survivors. We'll get them when they come out of the hospital. So our big mission is to mental health support, physical therapy, adaptive improvements to ADA improvements to the home.
Right.
Things like that.
Right. So spinal cord injuries, is there a certain population that gets them more than others, or this happens? Obviously, there was an infant you're talking about from anyone. Talk about that.
The biggest percentage of spinal cord injuries is males.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
85% male-dominated, which doesn't surprise me at all.
Right. Is it about riding motorcycles or doing things when they're in activity and they're not paying attention, or it could be anywhere?
Automobile accidents is number one.
Interesting.
Sports, diving accidents, things like that, and then domestic violence.
Really?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting on that last one. So do you work on anything that deals with prevention? So obviously when people are being very, let's go ahead and climb Kilimanjaro, and by the way, don't have any safeties with you. There are certain things people can do that can avoid these injuries. Do you work on those types of aspects?
Not really per se prevention, but we'll advocate, and we'll talk about how things happen, and occasionally we'll say it's all about being cautious and common sense, which I'm not sure if that's still around anymore.
No, that was the way of the dodo bird, I think, a long time ago. In this, we know San Diego is so well positioned. We got great, biocom, we got biotech, we got unbelievable medical facilities, research facilities. Are we sort of a leader in spinal cord? I guess therapy, surgery, follow up.
We have a lot of great organizations in San Diego that provide therapy, physical therapy.
Right.
A lot of good research companies in North County, and there's I'd say that I don't know if we're the leading, community for spinal cord injuries. There's a lot in LA, but we do have a good grasp on it.
Right, exactly. And, when you look at, as we mentioned before, all of the hospitals we work with, UCSD, Scripps, go down the list, and Sharpen, and that aspect of it. When somebody has been diagnosed with a spinal cord injury, and I'm sure they run the gamut, are some of these where it's not severe enough where they can regain their ability to walk or use their arms?
Yes. As a rule of thumb, the lower on the spinal cord the injury is, the better chance they have of gaining more mobility.
Oh, interesting.
And they call it the T section, the thoracic section.
Right, exactly. We're chatting with Mark Daggett, founder and executive director of Rally for Riley and Friends. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, broadcasting from the Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch and Mission Fed for more than 6 decades, doing great things for people in San Diego County, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary this year in Liberty Station. Come by and give them a shout. They always love to have some folks say hi in this very, very special year for them. Kristen, no other questions you have for Mark?
Or hugs. People can come give hugs as well. That's totally fine. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not being facetious. I'm learning a lot at this. I don't know a lot about this population. So with that being said, what are some things that the community could be aware of with spinal cord injuries or survivors? What are some things that you're trying to kind of get out there?
Well, like when I started this, I knew nothing about spinal cord injuries.
Wow.
And as most people, you shouldn't know anything about it.
Right.
But there's a need to know. That's what we're doing in part, is educating the public about it can happen to anyone at any given time.
Right.
Especially with kids and, throwing themselves out of, their parents' arms and, planking, as we call it, and, stiffening and just, being resistant. But I mean, every parent in this world, I believe, has had that happen. Our particular situation was a freak accident, what we call.
Wow.
But just raising awareness, and I refer back to common sense. With driving, there's so many. It's just crazy on the freeway nowadays, which is.
It's Indianapolis 500, like almost every day, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So it's just really all we can do is just, when we have a chance to speak to the public or to a group of people, just be careful.
Yeah.
Think about what you're doing.
I think that's such an important reminder with groups like this. I'm forced to say, what sort of risky behaviors should I really be texting in the car right now while I'm driving? Things like that.
Probably
not. So I appreciate that. It's groups like yours that make me reevaluate some of my more unsafe behaviors.
Well, I think what's interesting about this, and it's so true, you bring up a good point, Mark, and we all know this, we just don't think about it as much until it happens,
right.
And life is fleeting. And in one moment, you're an active 15-year-old, 20-year-old, 40-year-old, and then next moment, you're in a wheelchair the rest of your life, if indeed you're still alive in this aspect of it. Certainly some things are out of your control you can't control. We get that. Some things you can. It doesn't mean you have to be paranoid. You have to, live in a closet your whole day on this, but you have to be so aware of it. When you work with families, we say this quite a bit on our show, whether it's working with people from Huntington's disease or American cancer, or, yes, you work with the patient, so to speak, that had the injury, but it's the families that you're dealing with because their life is upside down now. Talk about that.
One of our biggest things we work with is providing resources for the family, because so often the family comes out of the hospital and they don't know where to go. There are resources in San Diego, but it's difficult sometimes to navigate those waters and finding those resources. So we're trying to put together, documents, books, things like that, to work with the caseworkers at the hospital.
Right.
So when someone's released from the hospital, they go, here's a book, call Rally for Riley and Friends. They'll help you. And if they can't, they'll dip into their resource pool and find someone that can help you. So that takes a lot of the stress out of the family, because our thought is they should worry about healing and getting accustomed to the new life, if you will. They shouldn't have to worry about finding resources.
No, I think that's spot on. When we come back from break, we're going to continue the conversation with Mark Daggett, founder and executive director of Rally for Riley and Friends. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. I know Kristen has some questions for you. We come back from break. Sure. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
Very good. We'll be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are chatting with our friend Mark Daggett, the founder and executive director of Rally for Riley and Friends, joined by my co-host Kristen Fogel, executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Kristen, I think you had a question.
Yeah, always. I want to get a little bit more into Rally for Riley,
Sure.
But I'm curious about your background. It seems like 2017, this awful event happened, and you've been somewhat consumed by this. And what was your background before then? What were you kind of doing?
I spent most of my 47-year career in landscape contracting and horticulture.
Oh, okay.
And the last third was in land development.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
Did you work with ASLA at all? American Society of Landscape Architects?
Well, I didn't work with them, but I was involved with them, yeah.
Yeah, they're very frequent guests on our show over here.
Nice.
Very cool.
Great.
I want to talk about community partnership, how important that is, and what sort of community partners do you currently have, and who are you kind of looking for out there?
Sure. That's a great question. We're partnered with Rady's Children's Hospital, Sharp Healthcare, their rehabilitation sector. To answer your question, community partnership is extremely important. We're real big advocates of collaborative efforts between different nonprofit organizations. We've got a community partnership with the San Diego Sockers. They're a great organization. But we feel the more organizations we partner with, the more awareness is going to be spread, and the bigger impact is going to be on the community itself, specifically in our case, the spinal cord injury community.
Right. Talk about this, one story you wanted to tell about Anthony, right? There's a gentleman you had mentioned. Talk about that.
So I met his mom at Adapt Functional Movement Center, which is a physical therapy center in Carlsbad. And we got to chatting, and I met Anthony there. He was going through therapy, and Anthony was on a kind of a life sabbatical, and he was in Bali trying to find himself, and he was involved in a motorcycle accident, and he laid in a ditch for hours and hours, and then the gentleman that lived above him was a paramedic, and he came down and found him, and this was during the COVID era.
Wow.
And they flew a spinal surgeon in from, I don't remember what country it was, but did what they could do to get him, stable, but they couldn't fly him out. There was no flights going out. So he spent some time in Bali, finally got back to the United States and was living his life. But some of the hardware had started protruding through the spinal cord, and it was just micromillimeters from hitting nerves that would have killed him right away.
Oh my goodness.
So his mom, Jamie, said they were going to go to a facility in Utah, Sandy, Utah, called NeuroWorks. State-of-the-art, great place. But they were having a problem with funding. So we helped them with, getting up there and helped with some of their room and board. And they had the surgery done. Rehab turned out great. And Jamie told me one day, with tears in her eyes, that if we had not been able to help them, she doesn't know where they would be today. And that just really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Well, when you hear stories like that, and if you don't have goosebumps for that one, then we're going to be checking to make sure your heart's beating. And what's nice about this, Mark, and you know this, Chris and I talk about it all the time with our guests. Obviously, you changed Jamie's life and Anthony's by doing this, but not just theirs. Anybody that's in their sphere, siblings, friends, aunts, uncles, pets, who knows, whatever the case may be. And I think that's one of the amazing things that people lose track of when you're working with someone, again, whether it's something with spinal cords or it's something else. Yeah, you're treating that person, that's first and foremost. But think about the other tentacles. That's just really so important in that area. Kristen, what other questions do you have for Mark?
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of giving back and making a difference?
Absolutely. I love that. I feel that it's our responsibility to give back, to make a difference every day, some way, shape, form, manner. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be financial. It may sound cliche, but opening the door for someone, making someone smile, especially nowadays, because you just don't know what they're going through. Everybody has a story. And, we're so, as humans, we're so quick to prejudge people. Oh, that guy's a jerk or whatever. But you don't know what he's going through.
Right.
You just don't know. So we are big advocates on giving back. Any way we can, and we encourage that with people we talk about, with every day.
One of the DNA sort of our Spotlight show, we've been doing this now for 18 years. I'm very proud of that fact, is that we can't talk enough about folks who don't think they can help. $1 helps, 1 hour helps. Maybe next month it's $5 and it's 2 hours. It's in everybody to do it. And if you don't think 1 hour can make a difference helping out, then talk to Mark Daggett. And we'll take you for that hour. We need you to do X, Y, and Z. Talk about how important that is.
Very important, Drew. We rely on volunteers.
Right.
And that's just another avenue that we can utilize as far as getting the word out when they talk to people. We have a segment on our website. It's called Stephanie's Corner. One of our board members, Stephanie Nichols, she is in a wheelchair. She had a pretty severe accident, but we do
a spinal cord, I imagine. Yeah,
yes,
right.
yeah. It's what they call a C456. So we talked about this and came up with the idea to do vlogs, monthly vlogs, and they're hosted by Stephanie, and it's basically sharing her life through her eyes about spinal cord injuries, with the hopes of, she talks about the good, the bad, sad, happy, and the hopes is it reaches somebody that may be in a dark spot, that may be down, have no hope, and see these vlogs from Stephanie and know that there's people out there in their same situation, that there is hope. There's people to talk to. So we're really excited about that.
So as part of also reaching out to those folks, what you just said right now, and who don't know there's a rally for Riley. If you know somebody that's in this situation, give us a call. And the reason why I say that, we work with a lot of groups that want to do great help, whether it's in the field of literacy or something else. And if they don't know you need help, let's just say literacy, we can't help you, And obviously there's some things that go along with it. You're ashamed that you can't read and all that business. Or you are now in this spot, like Anthony, had Jamie, right? But there are probably some people that have been in this situation that don't have anyone, correct?
Correct. And we want to be a light for them. We want to be able to help them however it is. We also co-sponsor and sponsor adaptive sports programs to get people out. Because sometimes people come out of the hospital with a spinal cord injury and they don't know what to do. They just kind of fall into that dark hole. So any way we can get them out and help them, peer mentor groups, very important. They just, they need help. They need that helping hand. Nobody plans on having a spinal cord injury.
Right.
Nobody plans on having an accident. But, they're looking for a hand up, not a hand down.
Yeah. So how many people do you think you folks have touched that have had spinal cord injuries since you've been doing this?
Well, it's not that many, but the people we have helped, we have a pretty high level of funding for them. Right now, we helped about 9 people last year.
Nice.
We always want to increase our success stories.
Of course.
And as we grow, we will.
No, and it's just that not just those 9 people, as you mentioned before. It's the people that are in that sphere as well. We're chatting with Mark Daggett. He's the founder and executive director of Rally for Riley. And friends, I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades. They've been doing great things in the community, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Other questions you have for Mark?
Yeah. So as you're thinking about the growth of the organization, maybe it is in terms of people you serve. Maybe it's in terms of, how much funding you're getting. But what are some kind of your goals for the organization moving forward?
Well, we're currently in the process of rewriting our strategic plan. We just added a couple new board members, which I'm very, very excited about. Great new energy. So I think one of the big things we're trying to reach the next level of our demographics bottom line is the more revenue we bring in, the more people we help.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
we're an all volunteer board. No one gets paid. So we have about 94% of our revenues go back to the individuals and families.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's huge. How do they get a hold of you? What's the website?
www.rally, RALLY, the number 4, Riley, REILLY.org.
So what we'd love to do, not to break any HIPAA laws and all that business, but for those who are mobile and had a spinal cord injury, would love to have them come back on with you and talk about what Rally for Riley has done, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, that'd be terrific.
Consider that a done deal. We'll wait to hear from you when you got some time to bring in someone that has benefited from what you guys do. And thank you for the great work you're doing.
Well, thank you. It'd be nice to let everyone hear a different point of view, a perspective from someone that's actually living it.
Sure.
Because I'll never know what they're going through.
100%. We're going to look forward to that interview. Thanks so much, Mark.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. That's our pleasure. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things for us folk living in San Diego County, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel of San Diego Writers, Inc. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.